Welcome to the Sleeping Barber podcast.
V. Gesundheit.
That was a make-believe sneeze.
You were on the precipice there.
It was coming, I swear. It was there.
That's the worst. You're just like, all right, just a minute. It's coming.
Oh my goodness. Hey. It's all good though. But we're back.
We are back. Better than ever.
Right?
Yeah.
Started 5:45 rides again. Like I feel like $1 million.
Sun is out. It's hot.
Sun is out.
Although
Nice and warm.
It's funny. It's like warm for us, right? 30,
Yeah,
almost 30
100%.
degrees coming this week.
That's warm for anybody, not just us.
Yeah.
It's a
I'm sitting
degree.
here in my basement with a space heater still on.
I'm wearing
I can see
wearing
the
a-
sun outside. I'm huddled up like it's the middle of winter.
I got a little blanket for my legs. It's all good.
I got to get some socks on. It's chilly on these toes of mine.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Listeners, welcome back to another episode of our Barber's Brief. If you're new around here, Mark and I like to use this forum to discuss things that have caught our eye over the last couple of weeks. We like to highlight our Marky moment and then discuss our ad of the week. Probably our favorite segment for sure. Mark, good morning. How you feeling, my friend?
Morning, V. You're energized. I can tell. It's great.
I got
So good
42K
to get
in
up
already.
early.
I'm feeling good.
Wow, that's good.
Feeling good. Yeah,
Nice.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I would take. Segueing into our first topic is brand
Oh, look at
purpose.
the smooth transitions here.
Right.
Woo.
That's
Attaboy.
what a professional does.
That's what we're
I
told.
saw somebody do this once. So Jim Stengel has the CMO podcast. Jim is a former CMO at P&G. He's got a interesting podcast for sure.
Yeah.
This one was on brand purpose, and so the topic was, is brand purpose dead? He had a few people on there. So Corey, who's the chief marketing officer at Elf Beauty, Marc Ritson, Lisa. These are hard last names. Marchisotto for Corey.
Materazzo.
Matarazzo is the global CMO at Ford, and then Sarah Carter. So 2 Americans, 2 Brits. It was really interesting. Or what's that? Oh yeah, well I guess
Mark.
I think he's British,
Oh, is he?
but he moved to Tasmania. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I think that's what it was.
My bad.
Anyway, so really interesting conversation, very interesting dialogue, debate. It was, I would say, more Corey and Lisa on the side of brand purpose as well as Jim, and then Sarah and Mark on the side of not brand purpose, I would say.
Okay.
And so it was super interesting. There's an article, though, that came from out of that conversation from Nick Asbury, I believe is his last name. Yeah. Why am I having such a hard time? Asbury. Nick Asbury. Anyway, he had a really interesting article on this. And it went back to 2011, where he kind of just traces the history of brand purpose and ultimately, like, a bunch of people were calling bullshit on brand purpose. Where Byron Sharp, way back then, did talk about how Jim's book, which was used to fuel the purpose movement, was fundamentally flawed in the way that he constructed the evidence. And so since that time, Grow really became the Bible for purpose, and it ended up becoming just this thing. Anyway, it was really interesting discussion, really interesting conversation. 2 very different camps. I think eventually they found some common ground, let's call it.
Was it depends?
No, it was more like, I forget the phrasing that Mark had said, but it was specifically around the idea of, like, it's a very adolescent conversation. It's not a very business-minded conversation, which was interesting because he's saying that to Corey, Lisa, and Jim, who are all CMOs, or were CMOs at least for big companies. Jim isn't, which is why I'm saying were. Anyway, it was an interesting conversation. Have you any other thoughts on purpose or where you're at with purpose?
I think we've talked about this before. There's doing purpose for the sake of doing purpose. And then it's something that's definitely woven into the very fabric of your ethos as an organization.
Right.
And I look at Dove, for example.
Yeah, that was one of the examples that came up.
Right. Another one would be Patagonia
as
well. Like, I think there's some companies that's just who they are. And I think, yes, that makes sense. I think we have a host of examples where it was people looking just to check a box with social purpose. So I know this is very traditional marketing speak, but it depends. Really, it depends.
Yeah.
If you're fully invested in it, and you're building whatever purpose it is into the core ethos of your culture, of who you are and why you exist, and start with your why. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Foreshadowing a little bit. But anyways, I think it makes sense.
I just got that.
Yeah.
By the way, listeners, we have some great t-shirts coming up.
We have some bangers. It's going to be good. To be revealed at Cannes. But anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's where I'm at. I don't know. Where do you sit?
Yeah, I'm the same. It was really interesting listening to the conversation, then looking at Nick's article. Obviously, Nick sits on the marketing effectiveness side, the evidence-based side. Same with Sarah and Marc Ritson. Marc's final comment was there's definitely a gap between North American marketers and UK, EU, Australian-based marketers on this, and in particular on just evidence-based marketing practices. I don't know. As far as purpose goes, I think it's really not helpful unless it's actually, as you said, part of the fabric of the company. But it's just going to cost them, like Marc and Sarah are making this point, it'll cost you more. So if your whole thing is around profit and all that, purpose probably by definition is just going to cost you more. There's a trade-off if you're really going to do it well.
Yeah, I would agree.
What do you got?
Well, last week was a big week. Google I.O. and Google Marketing Live were both released. For those that don't know, Google I.O. is more on its focus is on the product development, AI, software engineering, Android, and then any tech hardware that gets announced usually. A lot of developers obviously usually love Google I.O. Google Marketing Live is for all of us, advertisers that like to check out what the new advertising marketing tools are available with the Google ecosystem. Ads like in YouTube, AI, and performance. So I thought I would just take a quick stab on some of the things that caught my eye as a part of those two announcements. So kicking off with Google I.O., Project Astra was announced. It's a universal AI assistant capable of real-time video analysis and multitasking, which is going to be arriving on Android and iOS platforms. The Gemini Suite upgrades, so enhancements to Gemini's AI models, including Gemini 2.5 Pro, and Flash versions, offering improved live coding, deep research, and context-aware functions. Then, of course, a host of creative tools. So introduction of Imagine 4. I don't know if you've ever used it. It's actually pretty good. VO3 and the comprehensive Flow video suite, which is really just helps enable text-to-video generation with audio, which is really cool. The reality is, though, this is almost like a foundation to help speed content creation, customer engagement, and getting to that personalized marketing strategies, which is the ever-evolving landscape. Now, on the GML side, we actually had a whole bunch of announcements just from a marketing tool perspective. So I've kind of categorized them into the three that really caught my attention. So under search and AI powered ads, so AI overviews, also referenced as AIOs, ads will now appear in AI generated summaries on desktop, complementing any sort of existing mobile placements. There's going to be an AI mode as well. So this is a new chat-like search experience, which will feature ads tailored to users' exploratory queries, presenting new opportunities for advertisers. In the AI space or AI Max and search campaigns, they have what's called asset optimization, which is going to be utilizing, again, AI to adapt headlines and descriptions based on user queries, and then search term matching, which employs broad match and keywordless technology to identify high-performing queries beyond existing keywords. This one kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, if I'm honest, because it's kind of used to, as a search practitioner, you wanted to make sure you have exact match because you're looking for a specific subset. Now Google's forcing you in this broad match state. Anyways, that's a topic for another date. There's the launch of what is called the Power Pack. You would have remembered there used to be the Power Pair. The Power Pair was just PMax and Demand Gen, but now the Power Pack includes Performance Max, AI Max for search, and Demand Gen. So the whole thesis here is the trio aims to provide advertisers with great automation, transparency, and control across Google Ad Platform's ecosystem. And there's a lot more reporting that's coming out of this as well. So it's not so much as a black box that it used to be. And then finally, YouTube is getting a huge advertising enhancement, shoppable mastheads, accelerated checkout from Demand Gen. YouTube ads can now redirect viewers directly to checkout pages, streamlining the purchase process. And then, of course, more creator partnerships. So new tools to facilitate collaborations with creators, allowing brands to integrate branded content seamlessly into their ads. So it's a lot.
Yeah. The AI ads, the AI overview ads is interesting because then that brings you actually I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday about zero-click searches and how what's the purpose of any SEO anymore. If most of the stuff is zero-click searches, then you read this and you're like, well, maybe this just exemplifies that at that point. I don't know, but it's real estate that is appearing, and you're kind of wondering the whole time for the last year or so, what's going to happen with that. Seems like they got it kind of figured out now.
Well, it's their first stab at it, so we'll see how the adoption looks like. Obviously, I remember, was it last year when you and I were talking, and I said like I'd switched to Edge browser because I use Copilot. Now it's like it's everywhere. Like you cannot avoid that. So like even Google's integrated those search results in their SERPs. Yeah. Right.
Well, even now that I wonder, because I think I'm having this would be kind of an interesting conversation around that we maybe should find somebody to talk to about this, or maybe just us, but like, how does search change over, like, in general terms for us as users? Because I'm using a lot of the GPTs, not instead of, but more from a research point of view, but it would normally be a version of searches that I would do.
Totally.
Which is now a missed opportunity, which could create, like for Claude and for Perplexity and for, well, Google's still their own thing, but ChatGPT, like I could see there being ad placements there on new channels that we'd never previously thought of.
Could you not see a world where Google in its traditional form no longer exists and you just go, it's Gemini, and then you just ask, what are you looking for today, or what is it? And it's just the new SERP.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anyways, a lot of great products for advertisers. It's enticing, but it's also more hands off. Yeah. So that comes with, I don't know.
Speaking of hands off, how's this for a segue?
I think this one's going to be good.
So there's a really interesting post that came out from Adrian Decker, who'd done some research with a company called Optio. Mm-hmm. They looked at over 3,300 Google ad accounts and analyzed over 8 billion clicks. So what they looked at was what happens when you're running just whatever the machine tells you.
Yeah.
And they found that the most expensive clicks are the least efficient in terms of cost per acquisition. So the top 10% of clicks lead to CPAs that are 134% higher than the average, but it only increases conversions by 4%. Mm-hmm. So you're spending a ton more to get these top 10% clicks, but they're not generating an equivalent amount of conversions. So some of the recommendations that they had is changing a bit, or your portfolio bid strategy, using a portfolio bid strategy and putting a cap on CPCs. Lowering your bid cap will eventually get you more conversions for the same budget, even though you're not getting these premium ones. And then it's also true for ROAS optimized campaigns. Feel like it's a really interesting thing, because I keep hearing from different people that Google, like you and I have said this before, right? All these tools will spend your money. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you put a budget in, guaranteed they will spend whatever your budget is. How they do that, though, isn't necessarily optimized for your brand. It's, in some cases it is, but it can be optimized just for the machine to spend the budget. And so I've heard from different people in different agencies and different media buying situations saying that, you can waste a lot of money using just PMax if you don't know what you're doing. So what do you think about this? Should you be worrying about your CPA targets, or should you just let the machine run and not self-optimize? I mean, there's more and more of this that's coming that the machine thinks it's best.
With it, I'm with you, and Adrian here, because there's even running something as very simple as understanding what time of day are your day party. What time of day is your ads actually running? No one's talking about that anymore because we're letting the algorithms do their thing. So I would argue we have to stay close to this. Nobody has infinite budgets anymore. Sorry, that's an oversight. Maybe there's some advertisers out there that can throw a lot of money at this. Most advertisers, though, there's caps. Be smart with your caps. I completely agree with that. So using a portfolio bid strategy 100% makes sense. But then play with that, lower it, increase it, and find that happy medium that you're willing to spend for the cost of acquisition you're looking to drive. But then don't forget, look at the tactics you're deploying as well, because it's going to be different for every tactic. Right. So you have to think about this in a way that makes sense for you and what you're setting out to do. Is it part of your retargeting strategy? Is it part of your acquisition, reach consideration strategy, whatever that may be? This is constant testing and learning. And I don't trust the algorithms to do the thing. I think they'll always favor the platforms to make inventory available in abundance for everybody. Right. So that's where I kind of stand.
Yeah.
Don't relinquish control.
Yeah. There's a strategic part of that, right? Where like you don't want to give away all the thinking.
No.
The choices. Like if you're giving away the choices, then you're really giving away everything.
Here's where it's okay. You're a small advertiser. I get it. You don't have the ability to be hands-on. It's still going to deliver a set outcome within parameters that you set it. So that's fine. But these larger enterprise where you're, pumping in millions of dollars, man, like pretend it's your own money. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just romantic like that.
I don't think that's romantic at all.
All right. Okay.
But you know what is kind of romantic is your next story, the history
of fall of a Canadian icon.
Right.
This one's heart-wrenching, actually. And I came across just a piece, and then I started doing some research. And I know, did we talk about Hudson's Bay?
I don't think we've ever talked about Hudson's Bay.
I don't think we've talked about it. Okay. So for those that don't know, Hudson's Bay, the longest standing retail in Canada, has since gone to, filed for bankruptcy, liquidating all stores, all storefronts, etc. And I was thinking about when did this start actually taking place, right? This didn't happen while it happened in 2025, obviously there were signals that were happening earlier. So I wanted to kind of create a timeline of events that kind of showcase some of the things that, kind of probably moved this retailer in this direction. In 2024, they were experiencing sales declines. In the fiscal year 2024, they had a significant downturn in sales. Total sales dropped by nearly 33%, falling from approximately 1.65 billion to 1.1 billion in 2024. E-commerce sales were particularly hard hit, plummeting nearly 50% to 142 million from nearly 300 million the previous year. That's a big year-over-year
big jump.
That's a big
and by
jump.
the way, just for context, I know you mentioned that it's Canada's longest retail store. So just for some context, it was started basically when people were exploring Canada as a fur trading company. So in 1670, I think, is when they started. Yeah. That's like a long time ago. They helped build the railroads and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it goes back
that
far.
In Canada.
Yeah. They were hunting beaver.
Yeah, exactly. They don't hunt beaver anymore. Or they can't now anyways, but anyways.
Yeah. Anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah. So then obviously there was a lot of operational neglect. So many stores were suffering from outdated interiors, broken escalators, elevators, inadequate air circulation, water damage. A lot of these things, it seems like, why are we even bringing this up? But like when consumer sees that your stores aren't what they would expect it to be, obviously it contributes to a declining in-store experience, which is then driving away shoppers. Of course, marketing was also cut. HBC dramatically reduced its marketing efforts, including their campaigns for Zellers, which was a brand that they revived, actually, which had relaunched a pop-up concept within Bay stores in early 2023. The reduced visibility negatively impact customer engagement and sales as well. Now, in mid-2024, store closures and maintenance issues started popping up. So temporary store closures closed multiple locations, citing HVAC system issues due to the heat wave. These stores, however, fueled bankruptcy rumors, with retail analysts and customers expressing skepticism about their official explanation. Obviously, customer dissatisfaction continued to grow during that time. And now, if we look at early 2025, the financial strain and essentially insolvency of the organizations. Debt accumulation. By early 2025, they have amassed more than 1.1 billion in debt, while experiencing 30% decline in sales over the previous 12 months. The company faced cash flow issues, which is natural in a state like this, exasperated by a loss of access to credit facilities, forcing it to rely solely on daily sales revenue to cover operational costs. You know how dangerous that becomes when that's the case.
Yeah.
We talked about insolvency. So HBC became insolvent, meaning that it could no longer pay its own bills, really. So, it was behind on rent, payroll, that impacts people, and then other financial obligations. And they hoped to restructure, but the court eventually just approved a full liquidation, meaning HBC would sell off all its assets in a final attempt. March 2025, HBC files for creditor protection. March 20, court approves liquidation of the majority of stores. So in Ontario alone, they liquidate. Sorry, not in Ontario. In Ontario, court approved HBC plan to liquidate 74 Hudson Bay stores, 2 Saks Fifth Avenue locations, and 13 Saks off Fifth outlets across Canada. Liquidations were scheduled to begin March 24th. April 3rd, decision to liquidate remaining stores was made. And then in April 25th, final liquidation sales commence.
Yeah.
Liquidations across the country, etc. Now, in May, creditor protection was extended till July 1st. And then May 15th, just literally 2 weeks ago, Canadian Tire acquires Hudson's Bay intellectual property. So think about brand, colors, etc. The coat of arms, the brand trademarks for $30 million.
Mm-hmm.
This acquisition is obviously subject to court approval, but I think they announced it officially as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I saw a post about that where they had the Hudson's Bay colors on a bike and things like that. I'm like, oh.
Totally. Anyways.
Yeah.
It's a sad story.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I went through the store and it was like vultures picking meat off a bone. It was, it's sad. It's sad. But it's also not unique to Hudson's Bay. I mean, a lot of department stores are just gone. The malls are pretty much devoid of any major, like Eaton's a long time ago now. Sears gone. Hudson's Bay gone.
Agreed.
What's the American one that was here at Chinook Mall for a while? Nordstrom's gone. Well, Macy's, I think, Target. Yeah, Target didn't make it. Like, it's just logistics of running a department store must be insane. Difficult. Yeah, it must.
Consumer behavior has changed too.
Totally. Okay.
Anyways, time for our marketing moment with Marc Binkley.
Well, thanks, V.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, so
the MMM.
Yes.
The marketing moment with Marc. MMWM. There you go.
Okay, so this one is a recent report that came out from Karen Nelson Field, Will Parrish, James Shoreland from VCCP, Hacking the Attention Economy. So super interesting report. I won't get into all the details. It just kind of highlights some of the keynotes here. So the idea here, though, it kind of builds it totally builds off of some of the work that Karen's done in the past around attention. So there's that old saying that we've got a memory span like less than a goldfish now. Digital is a problem. There's really fast viewability. So people are scrolling through things and flipping and trying to thumb stop and trying to find ways to hack attention. Way back when, you'll probably remember, we did that products on fire stuff. Yeah.
I do.
Which was like a social post where it had a burst of flames in behind of a product. And apparently fire was supposed to make 80% more thumb stopping power than non-flame. I don't know how they got those numbers, but anyway, looking for hacks like that. One of the things that Karen had noted in past work was that you need about 2.5 seconds to start building memory. The problem is that upwards of 85% of all digital ads give advertisers less attention than that. So are there any hacks? Are there ways that we can get more bang for our buck? So what they did is they took, I think it was 8 brands, 72 different ads, and views. So for companies like O2, Cadbury, Domino's, Old El Paso, EasyJet, Sage, Bulldog, and White Claw, and they created a bad twin test. So they had ads from all these brands that were regular, and then ads from all these brands that removed any kind of distinctive asset. So no color, none of their colors, none of their characters, none of their sonic branding, that kind of stuff. So they're same ad, but just those 2 things removed.
Right.
What they found was that there was short-term advertising strength as one of the measures that they had used. So there was a 17% uplift for established brands by using distinctive assets, and for growing brands, 7% uplift. With distinctive assets, memory benefits start appearing as early as 1.5 seconds, meaning that your effective threshold for running an ad improves by a second. So rather than taking it 2.5 seconds to start building memory, you can do it in 1.5. So without your distinctive assets, they're referring to this as an attention tariff. So you're wasting upwards of about 2/3 of every dollar spent. Just by not including your distinctive assets. So if you think, we need to put our distinctive assets at the end of an ad. Nope.
Nope. That's a
well-branded ads are critical to the other thing that's really interesting about this too, I think, is the palette of ads that you would have, or assets that you have that could be used in ads. So color is one, characters, sounds, jingles, all those kinds of things. Having a palette of those, it doesn't just have to be a logo, but if you're thinking about ways to incorporate your brand early and often in an ad, having a palette to play with is really important.
Yeah.
So distinctive brand assets are not only effective at building memory, but also make media spend more efficient, which is a creative endeavor, I think, find ways to include this. And so I recently, even this morning, I just saw a post from her about there's a new availability, which is attention availability. So to add to the mental and physical availability, there's an attention availability. I think there's a new article that just came out this morning from her on that. So really interesting, I think, in that one of the hacks is to use your distinctive assets more frequently to improve the efficiency of building memory.
You know what stood out to me in this? 85% of your digital ads get less than 2.5 seconds of attention.
Yeah.
So we get better put those distinctive assets to work in that first second because it makes a difference. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting for sure. I think it's work. Yeah, totally. There's so many, display ads fit into that banner, like out of home, all of it. Like, yeah, it's really important.
It is. Yeah, that's good. That's a great find. That's a great report.
Yeah.
I'm going to dig into
All right,
that.
V.
Well, you and I will know Jason Alexander, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seinfeld, classic comedian. Well, he tackles anger management therapy for Mike's Amazing Condiments.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen this ad yet.
I haven't seen it yet. No.
Okay. So I will obviously, and for those that are listening on the podcast, I'll do a little summary, but for those that can go over to YouTube, we'll actually add part of it in the episode. But Jason Alexander continues his comedic collaboration with Mike's Amazing Condiments in their latest ad called Group Therapy. In this spot, Alexander portrays all characters in a chaotic anger management session, humorously distracted by the brand's mayonnaise on pastrami sandwiches. This is the third installment in the campaign, following previous spots Order at Dinner and Dinner Date. It's amazing. Maybe I have a soft spot for Jason Alexander. I think he's awesome, but it's really
he's a funny guy for sure.
100%.
I think what's interesting about it too, speaking of distinctive brand assets, it's having him in a series is a way to do that. It becomes a character. Yeah. I'm just looking at that and he's just funny.
He's great. Funny. The guy's funny.
Yeah.
The guy's funny. So have a look at that. I think you'll all enjoy it. So Mark, what's coming up next week? What do we got?
Next week is part of our measurement series. This time we're bringing Dale Harrison back. And so with that, we have a conversation that's super interesting, I would say. We started with the idea of like thinking about the full funnel. We got into zombie metrics, talking about just everything related to like what we think we know versus in measurement versus what we're actually measuring. There's lots of really great insights that Dale had. So yeah, it's going to be a really good episode. Yeah, super, super provocative thinker. Yeah. And that's what we have.
That's and we've come to.
I'm very excited that we have a beautiful sunny day to celebrate here, V. I can see the sun shining on your face. I have a whole pile of profitability in the backyard to shovel into the wheelbarrow. Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah, the gravel is still there. I'm going to get a tamper and pound that profit right in.
I love it, my friend. I love it.
Okay.
Well, thanks for keeping us in your ears. Chat again. Bye.